Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode of JPU Sports News Report. So, guys, as we were here discussing the 2024 Summer Olympic Games in Paris, as we were talking about the athletes and talking about the medals and the records and everything, one thing that we forgot to talk about was that at least 40 athletes tested positive for COVID, according to the World Health Organization. We were aware that Noah Lyles tested positive, but for some reason, no other athletes made the news about having COVID. The athletes who actually tested positive, which I told you is about 40, included several Australian swimmers, a British swimmer, and a German decathlon competitor. I think the reason why those athletes did not make the headline news like Noah is because they all tested positive after their competition, or maybe it's because they did not go partying after being tested positive. So, despite the number of cases, public health experts actually told ABC News and other outlets that the Paris Games were actually a success and a testament to how far the world has come since the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020. One doctor said COVID-19 was less disruptive in Paris than it was in Tokyo or Beijing because of what science and medicine have done over the past 4 years. If you guys recall the Olympic Games of Tokyo and Beijing compared to where we are now, you would understand how far we've truly come. The doctor continued to say that this should be a story, that we went from something that was so disruptive to the entire world to something that is now kind of a rank and file respiratory virus. The doctor, who is an infectious disease doctor, said, I think that's the real story here, the success story of humanity with tackling this scientific problem and the minds that went to work on this problem and made it something that is no longer a major concern for a lot of the population. I mean, let's face it, guys, how many of you ever anticipated that we would be back to the Olympic Games where, no one had to wear a mask and things like that? Yeah, it's not good that 40 athletes were tested positive. But after the game, I'm sure that people are wondering, with 40 athletes testing positive, how many other people, contracted the virus. Because honestly, we didn't see people wearing masks. But nonetheless, we're still better than where we were before. The Paris Olympics were billed as the first games with some sense of normalcy after the strict restrictions during the 21 Summer Games in Tokyo and 22 Winter Games in Beijing. Athletes were under more strict testing and quarantine protocols and had to follow strict measures to participate in the games during 21 and 22. No spectators were allowed at the Tokyo Games, if you guys remember, while a limited number were allowed at the Beijing Games. Comparatively, there were no formal requirements for regular COVID-19 testing or reporting for the Paris Games, either in general or for specific events. An athlete testing positive did not require them to sit out, from an event either. Participating following a positive test was left up to the discretion of the athlete, team, and medical staff, as with Noah, and I'm sure with the other athletes too. You understand? Additionally, there were no restrictions regarding spectators. So, what I see a problem with in how Paris handled these games, I think that it was too risky when they say to athletes, if you test positive And if you want to go in the game or don't go in, go in the event or don't go in the event, it's up to you without using a mask or, what can you do? Somebody participating in an event, nobody runs in a mask really, when other people are around. They're not showing me that they're concerned about the health of other people. They give the athletes the freedom to go participate in these games. And we still have to be careful in how we, protect others. And we have a duty to do that. So I don't love the way that this Olympic did things with the COVID-19. But nonetheless, the Paris game that we just saw resembled something pre-pandemic, Nothing like what we saw before. And that reflects the fact that the context regarding the virus that causes COVID-19 has changed a lot over the past few years. Only about 40 COVID-19 cases confirmed among athletes. And, we still have to give thanks and be grateful for small blessings, because when you look at all the people that attended, 40 and plus those who are participating or were participating in the games, 40 is really minimal, So the Australian Olympic Committee said last week that 16 of their athletes tested positive for the COVID-19 virus, at least 7 of whom were swimmers. 16 athletes on one team, guys. The British Olympic Committee said swimmer by the name of Adam Peaty tested positive for COVID-19 less than 24 hours after winning silver in the men's 100-meter breaststroke final. Perhaps most famous, Noah Lyles, and as we know, the American athlete, revealed after winning bronze in the 200-meter men's final that he had tested positive 2 days beforehand. Lyles drew a great deal of criticism, as we know, for running the race unmasked and not publicly revealing his diagnosis before the competition. This is where the problem lies for Noah in how he handled it. However, experts said that COVID-19 is beginning to be considered an endemic virus, meaning it is typically present and should be treated like other endemic viruses like the flu. I don't know what you guys think about that, but I don't know, because as we speak, there's an uptick in COVID-19 cases, especially among young people. And I'm speaking specifically about the United States. Tell me what you guys think in the comments. Were you aware that all these other athletes, 39 other athletes, tested positive for COVID at the Paris Olympic Games? Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.